I'm finally back after a few hectic months. So sorry about my leave, but I'm now back and ready to start filming. So, as you can see by the intro, we're doing a little bit of a switch up, and it's not only going to be a gaming channel, but we're also going to have to include some true crime. So I'm going to try and post at least once or twice a week. My true crime videos will be about solved murders, unsolved murders, any mysterious things, and every once in a while I might just toss in some creepy things about some creepy parks or hotels or anything. So that's what the YouTube channel is going to look like now. There'll still be some gaming videos, just not as often. So yeah. So today we are looking at a killer called the Zodiac Killer. He is an unidentified killer. And we're going to dig right into him. So get under your blankets, grab a snack and a drink, and get comfy, and let's dive right into it. So the Zodiac Killer was an unidentified person who was claimed to commit as many as 37 crimes, in which he was only directly linked to 5 of them, and 2 other victims who were able to stay alive, but they were seriously injured. So the killings took place in North California between the years of 1968 and 1969, but many say that this was going on for many years after, in which we just did not know because we did not catch him. So we'll get off with what may have been his motive. So, an 18-year-old college student in Riverside, California was stabbed to death in 1966. This is attributed to the serial killer in some ways. This case inspired Dirty Harry, which is described as a 1971 American thriller action. This movie was produced and directed by Don Siegel. The movie starred Clint Eastwood. Some say that this movie was his motive, and others say that the movie had nothing to do with it. In 2007, there was actually a movie called Zodiac. So, there's that. I didn't really do much research over that movie. I just know that a lot of people say that he is connected to this in some way, and that was his motive. So before we get into the actual murders and the victims, we're going to talk about some of the stuff that he actually did. So the murders that he did commit went under intense investigation and were soon talked about by everyone. He would taunt the police with phone calls and letters. His letters, which were sent from 1969 all the way up to 1974, were signed with a symbol resembling the crosshairs of a gun sight and would typically begin with the phrase, "This is Zodiac speaking." Including among these letters were 4 ciphers or cryptograms, which is a type of puzzle that consists of a short piece of encrypted text. Within this, he claimed that it would give out his identity. Now, which we know if that's true, we don't really know. So the San Francisco Examiner received a letter in an envelope with no return address. The beginning of the letter stated, "I am the killer of the 2 teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman." The letter contained details that only the perpetrator could know. These letters contained threats like there will be more attacks if this isn't printed on the front of papers. So we know that he obviously wanted to be known. He wanted people to know that he was out there and nobody knew who he was. Each letter closed with a cross through it. It was known as the Zodiac Killer's symbol. I'll put a picture of one of his letters and what the cryptograms look like up in the left. So the picture up in the left is a cryptogram the Zodiac Killer submitted to the San Francisco in 1969. So police ended up partnering with FBI and detectives to solve this case and track down the murderer. Another letter was soon arrived. Beginning, "Dear editor, this is Zodiac speaking." This letter also described the murders in detail and taunted the police for not being able to crack the code or even be able to catch him. So we can already see that he's wanting to be chased. He wants to be caught. So after several days of a high school teacher, Donald Hardin, and his wife Betty were able to solve the cipher in which it said, I like killing people because it is fun. It also read, "It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all." So a few days after that, after the 4th known killing from Zodiac, the killing of a taxi driver, Paul Stein, in 1969, the San Francisco Chronicle received a letter claiming the crime. This letter was written in the same print as Zodiac's previous. It gave details of the murder and was accompanied by a piece of Stein's bloody shirt. At the end of the letter, he stated that he would shoot the tire of a school bus and pick off the kiddies as they come bouncing off. This went on for days. Zodiac continued to put out letters with more ciphers taunting the police that they couldn't catch him. But in 1974, the letters stopped. Their investigation continued. So that's all about the letters that he would write and how he wanted the police to catch him and how he would put in all these details of the murder. So let's talk about the 5 known murders that were committed that he claimed to do. The first one was in 1968. A teenage couple was shot to death near their car in a remote area north of San Francisco. The second was in 1969. Another couple was then attacked under the same circumstances, though the male victim did survive. After this attack, about an hour later, the Zodiac killer, he actually phoned the police and claimed the crime, and then he had fled the scene. In 1969, later during the year, the Zodiac killer attacked another young couple, to which again the male did survive. So we're starting to see this pattern of he's only really going after female victims. This would lead to the police thinking that this is his motive. He just wants all females dead. But then we see another attack, which is his last attack that we know of, which was made shooting a taxi driver in October. So with that, we'll go down to the victims. So this is the first confirmed incident of the Zodiac killer. Betty Lou and David Faraday died the night of December 20th, 1968. David, who was 17 at the time, and his girlfriend Betty, 16, were shot to death near their car in a remote area at Lake Herman Road on the outskirts of Vallejo, California. Police say that they were surprised as they could find no motive for the murder. So this was his first confirmed murder, as we said. And I mean, police went over there and were just baffled. How could there be a killer out there with no motive? What is he going for? Is he wanting the chase? Is he wanting the fun? Or is he just doing it because? So then after that, we see Darlene Ferrin. So Darlene Ferrin died on the night of July 5th, 1969. Darlene, who was 22 at the time, and her boyfriend Mike, who was 19, were sitting in their parked car in a similarly remote area when they were approached by a man with a flashlight. This man had a hood on, and then when he walked up to the car, he fired multiple shots at them, which killed Ferrin and seriously wounded Mike. Within an hour of the incident, a man called the police and gave them the location of the incident while claiming he was responsible for both attacks. So once again, we're seeing him and he's claiming this murder, but then he's fleeing the scene. So there's no traces of anything, and despite the evidence of the fingerprints, Mike's description and the ciphers, and a wave of tips and leads, they were unable to find the person that was responsible. So in this, it's just something that's just baffling. I mean, you're seeing this, cops they're probably so frustrated that they just cannot figure this out. I mean, if I was there trying to solve this case, I'd be frustrated. We're getting all these tips, you're getting all these leads, he's sending in all these letters, and you're getting them decoded. And he says that there's going to be evidence in there for you to catch him, but yet you're finding nothing. So, then we see another murder, on September 27th, 1969, the Zodiac killer made himself present again. He found a young couple, Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell, relaxing at an isolated part of the shore of Lake Baricia in Napa County. Sorry if I butchered that whole thing. He was wearing a hooded shirt bearing a circle cross symbol, which was his symbol at that time. He tied them up and stabbed them multiple times. He then left the police a message on their car door before fleeing the scene, in which he then called the Napa Police Department, claiming responsibility once again. After doing some research, I still cannot find what he actually wrote on that car door, but he did write something for police to have another lead on him. Shepard and Hartnell were both in critical condition when the paramedics arrived. Unfortunately, Shepard died of her wounds shortly after. And then 2 weeks later, on October 11th, 1969, he claimed another life. He shot 29-year-old Paul Stein, who was a taxi driver. But seeing as this really didn't fit Zodiac's patterns, it was just claimed as an armed robbery for the longest time. Because we're seeing this pattern of him only killing females, so why is he going after males all of a sudden? But then, Zodiac then claimed the crime a few days later. So, Now he's ruining this pattern, and now the police are back to square one, because what are they supposed to lead off of now? He has no motive that they know of. They're decoding these letters and getting nothing off of them, and now they're just going off of fingerprints and what victims and witnesses say he looks like. So I will put a few pictures of what they were described as and what the victims actually did look like. But after many aggravating months of police trying to figure this out, in which this is still an open case, much still remains mysterious about the Zodiac killer. Many argue that he just stopped because the police never really got close to catching him, so there was really no chase. Which many people think his motive was just having that fun in the chase of police trying to catch him. I mean, he's seeing this as a challenge in which he made up in his own mind with no motive at all. Others argue that he was still active in dozens more killings through the 1980s, but with no pattern to go off of and nothing else to go off of, we don't really know if that's true. During the 1990s, several people claimed to have found who the Zodiac killer really was. The suspect that was most often cited was Arthur Lane Allen. He was born 1933 and passed in 1992. He was a teacher in California who had been institutionalized in 1975 for child molestation. His identification with the Zodiac killer has never been sustained, so there's really nothing to go off of. Police to this day that know about this case are still super aggravated, in which this case is not really known amongst many. There are still people out there who do know about it, and a lot of people who do look into it to try and figure out who really did this. Because, I mean, it's frustrating, it's baffling. And what are you supposed to go off of besides the letters that he had written, in which I will put a few examples up in the corner of the screen. But, I mean, you're looking at somebody he's in the world. Oh, well, he was in the world. Some of his letters hadn't been decoded until 2020. So that evidence we're getting then isn't going to go back to when he was actually doing the murders. And there's really no way of even catching him by now if he's even still alive. So that's basically all we've had to go off of, is what he left behind, and which he stated would help the police find him. So now we're thinking, well, are the police just digging too deep into this when the answer is literally right in front of their eyes? Or is he really just good at hiding this much? I mean, he could just be walking around the streets, you wouldn't even know, because he hid his identity so well. But if there's anything else that you guys want to add into the story, please do in the comments and let me know if I missed anything. So until next time when we talk about another murder, and we'll dig deeper into some more with some more research. So tune in next week for what will be next.